here's a web server, Area 51. There's an API called search with a query parameter, and we try out and show how the system works. We enter query equals Alice, and the system returns in a JSON payload, which Firefox in this case nicely formats, and it just returns all the records that contain the word Alice. Perfect. So next we tried a single quote, and that usually gives the highest level of success, as it's most commonly used as a delimiter in SQL dialects. And when you get something back like this, you see an error message like this, which states unclosed quotation mark. If you ever see this, you know there's a SQL injection. So now let's see what we can do next. So let's again enter Alice. So we see the data that comes back, the result set has 3 columns: ID, subject, message. So a typical way to go about it is we do the quote to close the work clause. Then we do the union, we do a select, and since we don't exactly know, although in this case we can probably guess, the column data types usually start out with null as sort of this wildcard to figure out how many columns there are. Let's say we assume there would be, let's say, 4 columns. And we do the dash dash to close out the comment. So if you do a select of 4 nulls, right, we see if we guess the schema right. If there's 4 columns, it should give an error. Yeah. So it doesn't match the number. So it says all queries combined using a union operator must have an equal number of expressions in the target list. So we have the expressions don't match. It would be 3. Exactly. So it's 3 columns. And technically, in the very bottom, we should see, yeah, here you see, there's an error message which is our null now. So we already know that the first data type is an integer, int64 actually. So we know that this has to be a number, which is kind of obvious because it's the ID. And then we have the next 2 columns, a subject and message. So those are definitely strings, so it should be pretty easy. So if you do hello, and here we enter world, we should actually now be able to add a row to the result set. Here we go. Do you see that? So now we actually start seeing how injection works. So you can modify the data that comes back. And the very kind of cool next thing to do is you kind of want to see which user the system is running under. So system user, as well as the version of the server, of the database system. And here we go. See, you get the subject back as now showing as the machine name and the username. It's pretty cool. And then you also got to see the database version, in this case a SQL Server 2022. Next, what we want to do is we would like to query, of course, information from another table or see what tables are available in the system. You can query something called the table catalog, which is like the database name and the table name, of course, and this is sort of every database system has this because it's an ANSI standard, information underscore schema dot tables. So this now will give us back all the names of the tables in this database in this JSON result. And there's a table users. So now let's look at all the columns of the users table. So in order to do that, we do from information schema columns where the table name equals the users, right? And now we get back for the users table every column the system has, and we can see there's a password. That sounds interesting. And the username. So let's query email and password. Now we know the table is called users, so we're gonna do the ID. We just pick 0, and we're gonna return the email, and we're gonna return the password of all the users. And okay, obviously, my bad. So in this case, we need to do from users because now we know the table name is called users. And here we go. Now we extracted all the passwords and emails from that table. Pretty cool.